And so I was kind of reluctant to go, but I felt like I had done about as much as I was going to do there every day, having a nice little treat and treating the seagulls, which are kind of neat. They always show up and always got fed well as long as I was going through those cans. They, I think, knew when I was going to get ready to go to the cans and show up real early, waiting for the handout, which was kind of fun. It was kind of neat to be, in a way, the feeder for them, because they got plenty. I got plenty, they got plenty. And so on this last walk down the beach, I was thinking to myself, well, seagulls, this is our last time, you know. Last round down the beach. And it was just real odd that last time the seagulls came, and they were all standing around in the sand nearby where they would normally stand, and I'd throw the chips out to them. But instead of any of them puffing out their breast and wah wah and fussing and fighting, or any of them eating any of the food, they left it all alone. They didn't go for to make any attempt to get it or even acknowledge it was there at all. They didn't move at all. It was that difference. It was black and white. The difference between day and night. The first 6 days, as I threw food out to them, they'd all rush up and try to grab it and would follow me to each can and eat the food from each can as I went along. And on that 7th day, the day I knew I was going to be leaving, I'd throw the food out, and although they gathered there, they just stood there. They didn't move or try to get the food. And so I just thought that was odd, and I'd go to another can and throw the chips out and the sandwiches, and they're just standing there, not moving, none of them. And it was a good group of 20 of them, so all 20 of them had somehow come to the agreement, we're not going to eat any of the food today. And I couldn't figure it out. It didn't make any sense. Why aren't they eating? It was almost as if they knew it was the last time I was going to be walking up the beach with them. Like they could sense that. I don't know. I can't explain. So after I'd gone to about 3 or 4 or 5 cans, and I'm sure it's probably 20 cans along the beach there, so still had a ways to go. That's another reason you always got plenty. I mean, out of 20 cans, you always find something you could eat. But after I was to about the 5th can, I looked down to the south, and I noticed this formation of seabirds coming up toward us. And it seems to me, in my memory, that they were flying in a nice V formation, the V formation. You know, trail tailors, and then all the way up to the leaders. So it's a flying V. In my mind's eye, that's how they flew up right to the camp where we were at, in a V formation. And then they all just kind of hovered there. And it was about, I want to say it's maybe 6 or 8, maybe 10. And here's their buddies, the seagulls, down here, about 10 or 20 of them. And these newer birds. And they were a little bit different looking. They were gray, and the seagulls had yellowish bills, but these guys had orangish bills. So I want to say maybe they were terns, or maybe they were immature seagulls. I couldn't tell. Didn't know enough about birds then, and I guess I never really took time to look it up, and by now my mind may be getting confused anyway, you know, mixed up. But they did look a little different, and I think at the time I thought they were immature seagulls, that these were the children. And what they did was really strange. So they flew up in that formation, and then they just sort of hovered right there near the can, and as I threw the chips out, they'd either catch them in midair, the way I kind of wanted to see them do all along, but I didn't care. I was glad to be feeding them. Or if they missed it, if they didn't catch it in midair and they missed it, they just let it drop to the sand, and they didn't go for it, and the seagulls didn't go for it. Nobody go for it. That chip is lost. Not really. I can imagine that after I had left, probably they all just went back to can, just had a great big feast. At least that's what I think in my mind that they must have done. But I go to can, and that same little group of hovering birds would follow, and they'd eat everything. I tried to throw it up because I realized that they weren't eating it off the ground. So I'd throw it up in the air to them, and they'd eat everything that I could get to them that way that they could catch, but they wouldn't eat anything off the ground. And the other seagulls would follow up can, standing around on the ground, but they wouldn't eat anything either. And we did that for the rest of the cans on that last run. And I can't explain it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was about or why it happened. Or if the seagulls knew this other group of birds was coming, and somehow between them that they had an agreement, we're not going to eat the food today, we'll let you guys eat it. Okay, yeah, we'll come up and we'll do a few air acrobatics, sort of give them a thrill. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know how those animals would communicate, or if they had the facility to communicate that way. I don't know, I can't explain it. And I don't know if they were just like terns or some other seabird, or whether perhaps they were immature seagulls. They were these adult seagulls as babies, and this was like their graduation day, their parade day in front of the parents and the generals and the president or whatever. And this is their practice in formation, showing how they can fly and catch food in the air, and the proud parents all standing around. Yeah, that's my son up there. Yes, see my daughter. I don't know. I can't explain it. It was just strange and weird and wonderful, and I enjoyed it. It was really great. It was great to feed the seagulls anyway. That's just fun. And to explain what happened that last day, I don't have an answer. I don't know how to explain it. It was as though a great gesture or honor to me. It's the only way I can take it. From whom, by whom, how it could be communicated, how they could communicate to do this with each other, I don't know, but the communication to me was just too obvious, too certain to be ignored. I have to say, tell it like it is, it was what it was. And even if I'm slightly misinterpreting it, I believe they must have known somehow this was honor. This was showing a privilege, talent, show-off sort of demonstration of what they could do, or what these birds could do, or the way that they could respect each other, or respect the other birds, or the food, or me, or I don't know. And then I left, walking back to the Los Angeles area. It was a very enjoyable part of the trip, one of the most meaningful parts of the trip that I can recount. Taking me a while to try to retell it again. I'll probably have to edit this quite a bit. I left there with a sense of being fulfilled in a way, and a sense of gratitude, and definitely a great sense of awe.